Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're looking at the hidden mechanics of something we use literally every single day, but, we rarely stop to actually appreciate it. Think about it. Every time you speak, send a text, or draft up a super important email, you're essentially acting as a master builder. You're constructing bridges from your mind right into someone else's. So today, we're going to explore the structural engineering behind persuasive, powerful ideas. We are diving deep into the architecture of the sentence.
So what is the exact architecture required to build a complete thought? It's a pretty profound question. Think about a time you tried to just fire off a quick rush text, and the person on the other end completely misunderstood you. Frustrating, right? When you have this brilliant idea bouncing around in your head, you can't just throw a random pile of words at someone and expect them to instantly see your vision. You need structure. You absolutely need blueprints behind your daily communication, because otherwise your ideas simply collapse. So how do we build a structure that stands strong, hold its meaning, and actually delivers our thoughts successfully to the world?
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The blueprint of a sentence. Every great building has to start with a foundational plan, and our language is no different. At its core, a sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought and makes complete sense. Now, I want you to really focus on that word right there, complete. Think of how often we see, say, corporate jargon, or rambling emails, or highly academic papers that are just massive piles of beautiful, expensive words, but they don't form a house. If you've got a pile of premium bricks, imported wood, and pristine glass just sitting in a driveway, well, you don't have a house. You literally just have a pile of materials. Similarly, a random group of complex words is not a sentence unless it forms a complete thought. Without this baseline requirement of completeness, our grammatical house simply cannot stand on its own. The message gets completely lost in the rubble, and it just leaves the listener hanging, waiting for the rest of the structure to be built.
Moving on to Section 2, the two core pillars.
To build this structure, we need two absolutely essential, load-bearing elements. You can add all the fancy wallpaper and decorations you want later on, but without these core pillars, the roof is caving in for sure. On one side, we have the subject. This is the who or what the sentence is all about. Think of it as your concrete foundation. On the other side, we have the verb. This is the action or the state of being. This is the dynamic energy, the steel beams pushing upward. Now, what's really interesting here is how they interact. You absolutely need both. A subject without a verb is just a thing sitting there doing nothing. And a verb without a subject? Well, that's an action with nobody there to perform it. Together, they create this dynamic tension that holds the entire sentence up.
Let's actually look at these pillars in action. In our first example, she is reading a book. Notice how the structural weight is distributed. Our subject pillar is she. Our verb pillar is reading. The rest of those words, like a book, well, they're just the comfortable furniture inside the room. The pillars are doing all the heavy lifting. Now let's check out another design. In our second example, the sun rises in the east. The subject pillar is the sun, and the verb pillar is rises. Notice the dynamic tension here. Even if we completely strip away the phrase in the east, the core structure of the sun rises still stands perfectly strong. Why? Because those two essential pillars are firmly in place.
Which brings us to Section 3. Passing the integrity test.
Any good architect will tell you that you can't just build a structure and cross your fingers hoping for the best. You have to stress test it. So let's take a tiny two-word phrase, I play. Is this a complete sentence? It has a subject, I, it's got a verb, play, but is it enough to be considered a fully functioning grammatical house? This surprisingly short little phrase really tests the boundaries of what we consider a fully functioning structure.
So the crucial point here is that yes, it actually can be, but, and this is a big but, only if the surrounding context acts as the solid ground that this tiny house is built upon. Like, if a friend asks you, hey, what do you do for fun? And you answer, I play, boom, the structure stands. You don't need a sprawling mansion when a tiny house does the job perfectly well, right? Context provides the necessary support for this kind of minimalist architecture.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark difference between a fully standing structure and a collapsed one. Take the phrase, I play cricket. We have our subject, we have our verb, and it's a complete, satisfying thought. It's a beautiful, sturdy house. But then consider this phrase, because I was tired. This is a classic structural failure. Sure, it's got a subject, I, and a verb, was, but that tricky word because acts exactly like a trapdoor. It creates a structural dependency and leaves the thought completely unfinished. It's literally like building a grand staircase that leads to absolutely nowhere. The listener is just left standing there asking, wait, because you were tired,
What happened? The building just collapses under the weight of its own missing pieces.
Let's move to Section 4, expanding the grammar toolbox.
Let's see how this builds, because once you understand the basic pillars of a complete sentence, a whole new world of construction materials opens up to you. Looking ahead to future blueprints, we've got some incredible tools to explore. We have individual words acting as our basic building bricks. We have phrases, which are kind of like pre-assembled wall panels ready to be slotted right in. We have clauses, which act as entire separate wings of a house. And once you master that foundational sentence, you can construct radically different buildings. You can build declarative sentences to state rock-solid facts, interrogative sentences to open new doors of inquiry, imperative sentences to give direct, powerful commands, and exclamatory sentences to add bold splashes of emotion. Mastering the basic sentence is basically the golden key that unlocks all of these advanced architectural tools for your writing.
Which brings us to our final and probably most important consideration. You now have the blueprints. You understand the foundational pillars of the subject and the verb. You know exactly how to test your structures to make sure they form a complete, standing thought. So, now that you know the architecture, what complete thoughts will you build next? Every single time you put pen to paper or fingers to a keyboard, you are the architect of your own ideas. Go out there and build something brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and happy building.